Welcome to the great outdoors. Imagine yourself on a wilderness journey. You've looked forward to this moment while busy at work or at home. You've thought about the chance to get away. You've prepared mentally and physically. Now you're here. Enjoy the fresh air, the mountains and forests. Listen to the sounds of running water, wildlife, or just silence. The journey here has been long and steep. I'm hot and my clothes are slightly damp. As I continue my journey, the wind is picking up, some clouds are moving into the area, and the sun is setting low in the horizon. As I sit, I ask myself, am I prepared? Have I had survival training? What if I have to spend a night out? We exercise daily, recreate weekly, and some of us work in the outdoors. Accidents do happen, and followed by bad decisions or lack of preparation, problems begin to compound. If we are injured or lost and haven't notified anyone, how would we let them know? The ability to let someone know where we are and that we need help is paramount in any survival situation. You need to have the proper tools to signal. Do you have a method of signal that will work? Fire provides us many essential benefits. Do you have the right tools and the ability to start a fire? Clothing is our primary method of shelter. Are you wearing adequate clothing to be able to spend a night out in extreme cold conditions? Did you know that 50% of adults and 90% of children panic when faced with a survival situation? The purpose of this survival guide is to allow you to learn lessons in a safe environment and with a clear mind so that you are better equipped to survive in the great outdoors. Look at the scenery around you. Enjoying the outdoors is certainly worth the risks involved. Now let's explore some scenarios that will help us learn. These stories you're about to see happen to modern-day heroes. Would you have the courage to survive? I will be your guide as we learn the knowledge, skills, tools, and the will to survive.
February 14th, 2002, I was back in Afton, Wyoming, and we decided to go for a very nice snowmobile ride. It was Valentine's Day. Hey man, I want to go try that one more time. I was so close the last time. I almost saw the Tetons, man. I want to be able to see them before I head back tonight.
Hey, give it another shot.
Okay, man, I'll see you in a minute.
All right, I'll wait for you and then we'll go when we get back.
Sounds good, brother. king of the world! To be on the top of the peak was to be on top of the world, to see the heavens, to see the glory of this earth. So I was just gonna, go look for Trent, and we were gonna head down and go have a nice Valentine's Day dinner. And I couldn't find my way, so I decided to come back and look for him, and that's when I couldn't spot him. I couldn't find him. As I dropped down into the gully, I realized how treacherous it got. There was no other way to get out of the gully because it was about 6 feet deep of powder, and there was no way that my snowball had enough power, enough juice to get its way back out. So the only choice I had was to go down in further and find another, way to come out of this steep gully. I had no other option, and that was to come out. I had no other option but to follow the river back to Star Valley. It was after 5:30, getting to 6 o'clock, so it was getting completely dark, and I was going in and out of the river, crossing, the little ponds, crossing the water, crossing the ice, to try to find a way to follow the river home. And I walked up and found some trees and then sat down. And, through the night in the process, I actually started meditating, praying, and, focusing, thinking of all the positive things in my life and the people and the things that made me want to live.
Rulon had the mental discipline that it takes to survive. He understood what it means to be disciplined, to think clearly, to take small steps one at a time to do what it takes to survive. And even more than that, he had the right spirit. He understood that there was a larger goal for his life. He didn't want to end his life right then. He had a larger purpose to live, and that gave him the energy and the strength to continue on and hang on for survival.
Severe hypothermia sets in from 92 to 86 degrees body temperature. The shivers come in waves and are violent. Your body is in serious trouble at that point. Your muscles cannot burn enough glycogen to counteract your continually dropping core temperature.
I remember sitting there and being underneath the trees and, kind of being a second party and watching myself and then watching my brother Ronald, who ended up passing away back in '79. Him and Jesus and God came to me and they basically said, Rulon, it's time to go home. And as they came to me, I remember asking them and begging of them, please let me live, let me continue to come back to the Olympics, let me come back and wrestle, let me come back and spend time with my family. I don't think my dream and I don't think my life is over yet. Please give me a chance to live.
Yeah, it's very interesting that people in survival situations will often have visions, will remember things from their childhood, will remember what seem to be little details, but that hold very strong emotional importance to them. And it's not really clearly understood why that happens, but it's so common throughout any culture, throughout any time period. People do have those visions. And what it really comes down to is when your body gets into a survival mode, you cut back on non-essentials within your own body. Your body has a priority system. And if you're dying, your body knows to protect its most vital structures. It'll protect your heart, your lungs, and your brain primarily. And it'll sacrifice surrounding tissues. It will stop the function of the non-essential organs, the organs that are not essential for immediate survival, such as your reproductive system, your stomach, your intestines, the immune system. The things that are not immediately essential for survival will shut down. And your body keeps your other organs going. But then when you really get down to it, when your life is on the edge, your body is down to your heart, your lungs, and your brain, and it'll even start to shut down parts of those organs. And if you think about how the brain functions, it functions in so many ways. And the higher functions of the brain, such as thinking, appreciation of beauty, love, appreciating art, those kind of things are all brain functions, but they're not essential for survival. And when you get right down to it, your body will take away blood flow from those areas, from the higher brain functions, and just maintain the maintenance functions, the heart and the lungs. It'll keep pacing the heart and the lungs. It'll shut down your ability to think of those kind of things. So what that does is it frees your emotional centers, which are lower down in the brain priority system. They're more primitive. So these emotions suddenly are free to take over. And you'll become aware of emotions that were long since buried by higher emotions, by higher thoughts. And these things come out. And emotions have power. If you hook somebody up to an MRI, which is a machine which measures brain function, you'll see when someone thinks about something, how their brain is responding. And if you show them something like wallpaper or something like that, they'll look at it and there'll be a little kind of blip in the brain. But then you show them a picture of their family, and there'll be a much stronger response. There'll be a big blip. There'll be a big response to any kind of emotional input. And that's real electricity. That's measurable electricity. And if you can channel that electricity, that power, into the parts of the brain that you need to survive, then you become a survivor. If you can't do that, then it bursts into panic, and you wind up being counterproductive. But someone like Rulon, who's so well trained, who's such a good athlete, who's so used to disciplining himself, can turn that emotional power into a positive force and use it to clear his head, to think what he has to do to survive, and to power his muscles in a coordinated way to keep him alive.
I told myself, you're in trouble. You need to focus, you need to get up, and you need to stay alive, and you need to live. You know, through the night, I actually checked my cell phone, and I thought it was going to be 4:30 in the morning, but instead it was only 12:30 at night, and that meant I was in serious trouble. If I'd have known what I had to go through, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it. But because I set small goals and I set realistic expectations for me and myself, I think I continued to fight. And I think that's what, makes human spirit, for physiological reasons and just hypothermia and frostbite. I shouldn't have been alive. I shouldn't have, survived that night. My goal was to make it to sunrise, because as soon as that sun came up, the sun would bring life and heat.
Something I've found that's always true in people who survive incredible circumstances is they're able to focus narrowly on their goal. And Roland even said that. He said he set out small goals for himself, what he would do for the next few minutes. He was waiting for the sun to rise, but he didn't just say it's going to come in 10 hours. He took it bit by bit. He said, I've got to survive the next few minutes. I've got to survive another hour. I've got to keep this hand warm, I've got to keep that hand warm. He was focused on his very narrow goals, which were eminently important for him to survive. He was able to do that. But it takes a lot more than that. It takes the ability to see a larger picture. You might not think those two things go together, but they really do. He had to be able to focus on a goal larger than himself, and that's something that survivors will always tell you. And in Roland's case, he had visions of his family, of his childhood, of the people that he loved, of his brother who had passed away, and he felt almost like he was communicating with them. And he said that his time's not up, he's not ready to go. And that kind of spirit is critically important to survivors. In survival situations, the people who make it will always tell you that they were able to concentrate on a focus larger than themselves, on their family, on their duty to their country, on religion, on getting back to save somebody else who's dependent on them. There's always that larger goal. And Roland had that going for him. He understood that he had to concentrate on the narrow part of survival, the minute-by-minute things that he needed to do, but also keep that larger goal in mind. And that, combined with his physical attributes, are what put him through. At 81 degrees, you're on the brink of death. The heart at about 80 degrees or so will start fluttering, will have an irregular beat, and you won't be pumping blood adequately to any of your body tissues. When you get down below 80, the heart will start to quiver, and somewhere between 80 and 70, it'll stop. And that would be the end. So Rulon was pretty close to that. But even at that level, he was able to use his head, to think clearly. And that's a credit to his training and his ability to maintain focus at the very end. It's extremely hard to do that kind of thing when you're beset by all these environmental insults, by this cold, which is absolutely destroying your body. To be able to use your brain for a higher function, to think, to get out of a situation, it's an incredible feat. And you only see it in people who are disciplined, people like Roland.
Between 90 and 86 degrees, you stop shivering, and you begin to lose muscle control and coordination. From 86 down to 82 degrees, you become semi-conscious. Your pulse and respiration rate decrease. You become unconscious once your body core temperature dips between 82 and 78 degrees. When Rulon was found on the morning of February 15, 2002, his body temperature registered in the lower 80s.
Okay, Idaho Falls Tower, this is November 3862 Tango. Ready for takeoff on runway 20. We will be departing to the southwest on the search. Idaho Falls Tower, this is November 3862 Tango. I have a visual on Rulon Gardner. He's in the lower Salt River drainage. I'm going to circle this position to get a better fix on him. You okay? Can you get in?
I think so.
If you paid close attention to each of these situations, you had a great learning experience. Usually hindsight comes after someone has suffered or perished. You can learn from these experiences without suffering. Seeing beyond the obvious and making the right decisions at the right time is a skill that experienced outdoorsmen use to save their life. Did you hear some of the comments made? We didn't bring a survival kit with us. Neither one of us thought we'd need it. I left my coat back at the car. I should have stopped where I went in. The rescuers found my tracks that night, but never could quite catch up to me. And I believe the most telling of all comments made, I would have traded every accomplishment in my life, even the gold medal, for one wooden match. How valuable would it be to build a survival kit and keep it with us at all times? A survival kit should be very personal, based on what you do, the climate you recreate in, and the knowledge you have. What good would it be to buy a survival kit and not know what was in it or how to use it? Now let's review some of my favorite items that are field tested to work when you need them the most. There are many survival kits that appear adequate but lack the essential tools for survival. I believe every survival kit should contain fire, shelter, and signal. Remember to keep your kit small enough that it stays on your body at all times. If your kit becomes too large, you leave it in the vehicle. As far as hunting items, leave those in a separate pack. Also, food and perishable items should be separated. You want your kit to be intact every time you grab it and head for the outdoors. Fire is an essential element in your survival kit. Matches in a waterproof container or a lighter will ensure that the fire is started. Cotton balls soaked in Vaseline or rubbed with chapstick will ensure that the fire continues. Trioxane is one of the best fire starters available. It's a purple tablet that when lit burns extremely hot and for a long period of time. Other homemade fire starters can be very acceptable. This is a wax-filled paper cup that has a 10-minute burn time with flames about 3 inches high. Be creative and build a fire. If you're dressed properly, these emergency blankets can reflect 90% of your body heat. Combined with this parachute cord, you'll be able to make an effective shelter. The use of natural vegetation to break the wind or to insulate you from the ground up is essential. Knowing that you can lose 2/3 of your heat through your head, a wool watch cap and a silk scarf become very important. All of these factors will allow you to stay warm through a very cold night. Signal mirrors can let someone know where you are and that you need help at long distances. Know how to use one. If you look at the case files, many of the rescues, especially with children involved, are critical at short distances. Rulon's rescue team came within several hundred feet of finding him late that first night. If he had had a signal whistle, he could have avoided a great deal of suffering. The benefits of a dependable knife are well documented, whether for shelter building, food preparation, first aid, or defense. Make sure that your knife is durable and safe. I prefer a fixed blade knife. Some folding knives can fold back and cut your fingers. A first aid kit is an essential part of any survival kit. Again, know what's in it and know how to use it. The rest of your kit is up to you. What's in your survival kit? This simple heat converter can greatly extend your ability to survive. Placed around your neck, you breathe into the copper coils. The coils retain the moisture and the heat for your next breath. If you had to spend a night out on the Salt River in western Wyoming at -30 degrees, you would want to be dressed appropriately. Rulon Gardner had on a cotton t-shirt, a cotton sweatshirt, a pair of cotton socks. His head socks saved him. I would prefer a base layer of wool, silk, or synthetics. Next, I would wear a wool shirt to keep the heat in. Anytime I sit down, I reach for a wool sweater to retain the heat. I could use a fleece jacket. The outside shell should always be waterproof breathable, Gore-Tex or something similar. And finally, with the importance of the heat loss through your head, a wool cap and a silk scarf. If you don't have a heat converter, this is an excellent replacement. Now, how important are your feet? I always keep an extra pair of wool socks available to trade out if I need it. Remember, the will to survive is more than taking that last frozen step to rescue. It starts earlier than the climb up Mount Everest. It is more than that huge motor that drives a person to win a gold medal. It is more than the desire to live and be with family. The will to survive starts with building a survival kit. It's dressing for the climate that you live in. It ends with the will to survive.
He says he should be dead. Olympic wrestling champion Rulon Gardner and 2 other men survived a plane crash into Lake Powell over the weekend. Fox 13's Nineveh Dinha spoke with him this morning.
Rulon Gardner and his 2 friends had to swim in near freezing temperatures. They had to brave the cold winter night. And as you'll hear in just a second, it isn't the first time he's come face to face with death. Rulon Gardner is an Olympic gold medalist. He beat out Russian Alexander Karelin, a Greco-Roman wrestler that hadn't been defeated in more than a decade. The Utahn has also had his fair share of dodging death.
I'm sitting there, trying to struggle. My head's going right to the point where it's going underneath the water. And I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? You have this whole life ahead of you. You've worked so hard to get here, and it's going to be gone in just a few seconds because you're going to die.
His latest story of survival, a plane he was on crashes into Lake Powell on Saturday. He and his two friends, Les and Randy Brooks, swim to the shore and brave freezing temperatures until a fisherman rescues them early Sunday morning. But this isn't Gardner's first brush with death. In 2002, doctors had to amputate one of his toes after a snowmobiling accident left him stranded through the night.
The doctor said, you're going to lose both your feet. They're frozen solid, and there's nothing we can do realistically.
Gardner has had some close calls. He says he's lucky to be alive.
There's three, grateful people and three grateful families that get to have, us still here on this earth, and that's a miracle.
All three survivors were treated for hypothermia. Les Brooks, the pilot's brother, suffered from frostbite, but is said to be doing okay now. In the newsroom, Nineveh Dinha, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The four things that I think helped Rulon survive were his general overall fitness as a superb Olympic athlete, his corpulent shape, which protected him from the cold, his ability to focus, to discipline himself, to take care of his situation one problem at a time and one step at a time, and above all, his spirit, his understanding that he needed to get back to the people around him, that he had a higher goal to live for.